Government is subsidizing refugees so that their kid can't get a job at Canadian Tire. No, ma'am, that's not true. People like your son didn't want the jobs at Canadian Tire.
You arrogant, entitled, corrupted moron. Who the hell are you to say that someone's kid feels like he can't get a job because of racist hiring practices, that it's really because he doesn't want to work? Charlie, you and the entire liberal ideology is exactly what's wrong with this country. And today I'm going to expose your hypocrisy and insightful language. To all my fellow Canadians, make sure you leave a like on this video so it can break through the algorithm and reach more patriots like you. Consider subscribing to fight back against liberal censorship.
The pattern, the playbook, the extremist playbook, and how it's being used, it is being brought into Canada. You've heard me talk a lot about the coming storm, and it's going to be an ugly storm. So let's talk about the next step in the playbook. This week, Pierre Poilievre, the MAGA Maple leader, stood up and announced that the greatest crisis right now is the persecution of Christian people in Canada. Yeah, Canada. In 2025, according to Pierre Poilievre, Christians are more persecuted than anyone else, and he's going to stand up and defend them.
So what are you saying here, dumbass? Are you claiming that Christians aren't persecuted? You mean the ones who are openly mocked in media, Hollywood, smear campaigns, hate demonstrations, and sacred desecrations? Is this not happening? What you're failing to realize, Charlie, is that there is an open societal acceptance that Christians are the exclusive group that can be publicly demonized by radical leftists like yourself.
Now, lest you think that this is just another part of the idiot blather coming out of Pierre Poilievre's mouth, you need to remember that there's a playbook. The division among people by claiming the persecution of Christians has become the well-worn path for creating ugly division and driving people apart all over the world. Pierre Poilievre announces his big priority. While the rest of us are dealing with Trump, what's Pierre Poilievre's biggest issue? Persecution of Christians in Canada. Somehow Christians are being persecuted.
Pierre never claimed that this was his biggest issue. When did he ever say that? He didn't. He responded to a reporter's question and then decided to elaborate on his answer. At no point did Pierre ever have a platform that he said that the biggest issue in Canada is the persecution of Christians. But the fact that you're dismissing the existence of anti-Christian hate truly says a lot about you.
In Canada in recent years, we've seen horrific anti-Muslim violence, the horrific mosque shooting, the innocent family that was murdered, driven down by a vehicle and killed in London. We see really disturbing cases of anti-Semitism, of gunfire outside synagogues. A woman recently stabbed here in peaceful Ottawa, older Jewish woman. And yet Pierre Poilievre says the victims are Christians. You need to step back and see the playbook. Poilievre's not interested in the evidence. This is a play, and he's playing the extremist right-wing card. And using this notion of Christian persecution has become part of the extremist playbook.
Charlie, you're just not understanding because you lack the ability to navigate through your brain rot. Just because there are attacks on other religious groups doesn't mean that there is not a major rise in anti-Christian hate in Canada. Your logic makes zero sense. Also, let's not forget that it goes against the leftist mainstream narrative to report on acts of violence against Christians. And did Pierre claim that no other religious groups face persecution? You're sounding a lot like a conspiracy theorist, Charlie.
The ADF, the extremist neo-Nazi party, has been driving this false image that when they say Christians, they mean white Germans, are somehow being persecuted. They've launched a call for an international day of recognition of Christian persecution. You watch, conservatives in Canada are going to do the same thing. Just like they launched this crazy Christian Heritage Month last Parliament, and then they went after me relentlessly because I was pointing out how ridiculous it was in a country where, you get Easter off, you get Christmas off, Good Friday. How many other religious groups get that? But anyways.
Listen to how you sound right now. The way you condescendingly speak about Christians with that look of disgust on your face, it's more revealing than you even realize. The very fact that you're sitting there on a public platform talking about ridiculous Christian pride and calling it out as a threat, this is what we're talking about. You conniving, slithering snake. You're just the soy milk version. There are real radicals in Canada who act upon insightful language like this. But we get Christmas and Easter off. Well, that makes everything better now, doesn't it? By your logic, you're saying that since Christian holidays exist, that negates any hatred? Very intelligent point, Charlie.
The IDF use this as a dog whistle to drive race hatred. They're using this issue of somehow it's Christians, i.e. white people, are being persecuted as is one of their driving forces. Christian persecution, the notion of this is being used as a front to drive right-wing extremism. Protecting the, quote, Christian nation meant that they were actually saying the threat was posed by Muslims, multiculturalism, the liberal elite, and then they wrote, insert your own demon here. Yeah, whatever you're mad about, blame it on Christians being picked on. It's about white supremacy or ethnic and religious nationalism with hostility towards migrants, conspiracism around a variety of issues, including climate change denial, Holocaust denial, anti-Islamic conspiracy theories.
Here we go. You're right, Charlie. We're all Nazi conspiracy theorists. We only exist to sow hatred, right? And whatever we're mad about, blame it on Christians being picked on. It's so funny that you diminish the severity of Christian hate by saying, oh, they're afraid to be picked on. But yet, if I choose not to use preferred pronouns, then that's considered violence. Your hypocrisy is astounding. You're literally sitting there painting all white Christians as conspiracy theory, riddled, racist climate change deniers. Yeah, I'll take leftist talking points for 1,000, Alex. And so what if Canadians want our culture back? Have you checked our immigration to national birth rate ratio, Charlie? Oh, wait, now I'm just proving your point. But guess what? I don't give a shit. I want our country to be nationalist. What's wrong with preserving our culture and identity? You support that for other countries, don't you, Charlie?
And certainly in Canada, we saw during the final days of COVID, all these supposed Christian church leaders and extremists quoting the Bible and driving anti-medical attacks in the areas where we're having huge uptakes in measles and other infectious diseases that were eradicated. They're also happening in areas where religious groups have decided somehow that they're being picked on and they have to defend their lives from the state, medicine, science, knowledge.
You heard it here first, guys. Charlie has single-handedly cracked the code. The reason for both COVID and measles outbreaks is because of Christians. Charlie's rhetoric it's so dangerous and he doesn't even realize it, man. People who actually watch him and take him serious view not only Christians, but white people in general as threats. And we already know how the left is so loving and tolerant toward people they disagree with.
What the far right do, once they've established even how ridiculous and remote, I mean, how many people in Britain go to church on Sunday? How many people in Germany go to church? But suddenly we're going to defend all those people who do or do not go to church from persecution because they're white. Same thing in Canada, very secular society here. But what they do is they create provocation. This is the far right playbook to a T. So recently we saw the far right extremists calling for mass deportations, and they were going to hold a rally in Christie Pitts Park in Toronto. Christie Pitts was where the Jewish community and the Italian Catholic kids came together in 1933 and stopped the Nazis. The Nazi hate groups that were forming in Toronto at that time were stopped in what was known as the Christie Pitts riots. So for the far right to go back to Christie Pitts and repeat the same crap is that they wanted counter demonstrations. They wanted to be attacked. They wanted to play the victim card. It's the same as the provocation we saw with this Christian nationalist singer who nobody had ever heard of before. What he was actually driving was a Christian nationalist, which is white supremacist hate message, and people rightfully stood up. We don't put up with shit like that in Canada.
So tough guy Charlie, who doesn't put up with white people in Canada, believes that since people gather at Christie Pitts Park, they're Nazis. Charlie says that we're just creating provocation. Well, how would that even be possible unless the left is so willing to go out of their way to engage with us? Riddle me that, smartass. In order to provoke someone, that means to trigger them into committing violence. Conservative demonstrations involve people gathering peacefully to speak about issues facing our society. The provocation actually happens when leftist lunatics interrupt these peaceful demonstrations with antagonization and violence. That's why the left framed people honking their horns in Ottawa as violence, but when people burn down Christian places of worship, that's understandable because of the systemic issues they faced throughout their history. This is the far left playbook to a T. And, yeah, there should be a total overhaul of our immigration system. Our country's identity is being eroded entirely, but people like you are just too stupid to see it. And guess what, Charlie? This is a popular opinion globally. Thankfully, many other countries are following this same common sense idea, like Japan, who elected a conservative female leader. Ooh, that's a bit touchy, isn't it, Charlie? Will you condemn this woman, or does she check too many intersectional boxes for you to comment on? You'd probably blame it on right-wing white extremists who corrupted her mind with conspiracy theories.
There was Pierre Poilievre crying out for the persecution of this guy. The far right rallied around him. They need to create provocation. They need to create division. I'm saying this, my friends, because the storm is coming. The storm is going to be massive disinformation, massive rage against immigrants. I'm already seeing it all over my social networks. People are writing to me about how government is subsidizing refugees so that their kid can't get a job at Canadian Tire.
No. Really? Are you kidding me? Real Canadian youth know why they can't get work, and they're finally speaking out about it.
No, ma'am, that's not true. People like your son didn't want the jobs at Canadian Tire or the Food Basics or the other stores.
You're claiming that this kid willingly handed a job application into a Canadian Tire store because he was trolling? He didn't really want that job. Charlie, your framing of this point is a fucking insult to this woman and every young person in Canada who's looking for work that can't get it. If you walk into any store in this country and you don't notice the obvious pattern, you're just suffering from brain maggots.
We need to identify the storm that's coming so we can call it out. We need to call out Pierre Poilievre. We can't just treat it as like, oh, he's just being crazy. Oh, he's just saying flamboyant things. He's working to a playbook, and the playbook is about division. Why does that matter? It matters because our nation is under threat unlike any time in our past. We're facing a threat of the democratic order around the world. We're seeing the far right on the move. We're seeing the gangster regimes on the move. Canada right now is holding the line, but that line is going to be threatened and it's going to be attacked continually from the inside.
I don't like how you're saying that there's a storm coming. What are you talking about, dude? This type of language is actually dangerous. You may clarify yourself by saying that it's mis and disinformation, but leftists who watch your content and the way you're conveying your messaging, they hear it like this.
Extremist right-wing, extremist neo-Nazi. Our nation is under threat. We're seeing the far right on the move, holding the line. Threatened, be attacked. You watch. Conservatives in Canada are going to do the same thing.
You need to stop and recognize what you're doing. The thing you're complaining about right now with this unintelligible Marxist rant, well, it is a playbook. The playbook is far left extremism. And Charlie, real patriots don't put up with that shit in Canada.